Oh, Dios mío, we have got commercials. Well, I usually get commercials in the beginning, wait until the stream starts taking it up a notch. And then YouTube goes like, oh, we're not going to show commercial to this guy. How's it, guy, going? How are you doing? All right, I'm a little bit upset. I'm not used to failing. I genuinely am not used to failing. And when that police officer said, I am sorry, but you have failed the driving test, I was like, are you really? Are you genuinely sorry? Like, are you really upset about it, huh? How many other people did you have said this? How sorry are you really? And it was like also a snide police officer, by the way, which is why I went to drinking. Like, I started drinking because like he's like asking me like, how is the view from the back seat? And I was like, you motherfucker, you son of a bitch. But, you know, I couldn't tell him that because what if, just what if the next driving exam I have is with the same police officer? I had, like, the exam with my fiancé, like, we both took it. In a way, I'm glad. You know, this is how I say when I don't manage to reach the grapes. I think they're sour to begin with. And I was like, you know what? I hope I failed because she failed. And if she failed and I got the driving test, then, you know, what if I get to drive and I become her chauffeur? Like, do I look like a chauffeur? Do I want to be a chauffeur? The answer is no, because she wakes up to go to work at ungodly hours, like 6 a.m. is the only good thing about the... sorry, it's not the only good thing. It's the best thing about being a YouTuber is that you don't have to wake up early in the morning. So imagine like if I were to have to wake up early in the morning in order to take her to work. Like, that would have been horrible. No, I did not pass the exam, Tandem. I did not. Okay, I did not. You got your license at 16? Congratulations. You know, like, this is another thing. I live in a very busy city. Okay, it's not as busy as India, but it's kind of busy. A lot of traffic. And then you have, like, the people in the rural area going like, oh, I got my driving test when I was 5. It's like, congratulations, motherfucker, okay? You went in your goddamn village in the middle of nowhere next to Courage the Cowardly Dog where there's one car and one signal traffic light. And you got your driving license. Congratulations. Alright, no, I did not hit someone. Jesus, why would I hit anyone? I couldn't lateral park. Okay, lateral parking is ungodly. It's like, why do you have to do it? Why do people lateral park? Who invented lateral parking? It's such an awful way to make a car stop in a lateral position. Like, okay, so there was that, and then there's like when you take the turns. All right, like you're supposed to not cross on the dotted chalk thingy. Like, yeah, I crossed on it because like there was like a car parked on the right part of the road, so I was supposed to get in front of it, and then when I take the turn, it's like you take it in a smooth manner, so as you don't step on the middle of the road. Like, you're not allowed to step on the middle of the road. What else did I do? What other atrocities? I didn't stall the engine. Okay, which is kind of funny because in Romania it's like killing the engine, like you kill the engine. It's like, yeah, I wasn't the engine assassin. I didn't assassinate the engine. I didn't go speeding. I gave priority to anyone that needed it. Like, I didn't get in front of another car that like had to go there. But it was like little shit, like the signaling. Like, you're supposed to signal when you're like on a street that's very, very tight. It's like a tight street, and there's cars parked on the right side of the road, so you have to like drive on the middle of the road. And I was driving on the middle of the road, and you're supposed to constantly signal all the time. Yeah, I didn't do that shit. Put my seatbelt on. I did all that thing. Oh yeah, I didn't check the mirrors. Like, you're supposed when you go into the car, even if the mirrors are in place, like, you're supposed to check them. And if you don't check them, like that's like 6 points or something, and I didn't check the mirrors, right? But like, it was like a lot of things that added up. I just did more driving lessons, which is kind of annoying because they're very expensive. It's like I think it's like $20 a lesson, right? So you need a lot of money in order to do it. Shut the fuck up, Derna. No one asked you anything. Like, chat, please tell Derna to shut the fuck up. Is this harassment? I don't think it's harassment. Okay, don't tell him to shut the fuck up. Maybe YouTube is going to consider this harassing. Sorry, my bad. Again. Yeah. But yeah, so I failed. My fiance failed. My fiance ran a yellow light. That was interesting. Like, she went on the street, right? And there's like this signal light in front of it, and she's like Schumacher going wanting to catch the light, and literally when she's under the signal, the light turns yellow, and she just keeps going, and it's like, wow, congratulations, Schumacher, you managed to do it. That was like a really big chungus of a point. Yeah. So there you go. Oh, and she also almost went into a bicycle, a bicyclist. You know, a bicyclist. So when she finishes parking, she puts it on reverse, and there was this guy with a bicycle in the back, and she almost hit him. And the police officer said, "It's like, lady, you should know that the bicyclist is also a participant into the traffic." And I was like, well, if she hits him, then he's not going to be. But yeah. She tried to catch the light during the driving test. Yes, she did not catch the light during the driving test. But yeah, so it was difficult. Yeah, why not get a motorcycle instead? I don't know how to ride a bike. Okay, like my dad, he never kept me on my never held my tushy when I was riding a bike when I was a kid. So I literally don't know how to do it. The bicyclists are 1,020. No, like if the guy sees that the exam car is like there, why couldn't he just go a little bit to the left? Like, cyclists are assholes. I know. More assholes than the cyclists are motorcyclists. Like motorcyclists, I tell you, like whenever I was taking driving exams and there was a motorcyclist just driving next to me, I was afraid that I'm going to kill him. It's like just my mere presence might spook him or some shit, and he might just fall down. Why did people even invented the motorcycle? It's honestly, it's not good. I can't even ride a bike, Billy Blogs. Okay, my daddy never showed me how, Bill. You're opening closed wounds. You're opening wounds that I used to have, and I thought I had dealt with, but now that you're bringing them up again, I realize that I still have more work to be done. There's more work to be done. Driving is easy. Yeah, like, your mama is easy, your dogs. Driving isn't. And it depends where the fuck you drive. I don't drive on the left, I drive on the right. I'm a right winger. Okay, I'm not a British person. Like, British people are so left, they even drive on the left. By the way, like, does a motorcyclist know that I'm afraid of him? Like, does he smell the fear when he goes past my car? Is something that I want to know. I never stole a bike. Why the fuck would I steal a bike? I can't drive a bike. Well, I can't bicycle. What? Ride a bike. Okay, I can't ride a bike. Tactical droid failed his first exam. No, like, seriously, I finished med school. I finished law school. I didn't flunk a single year at those things. I can't take a driving test. It's so fucking annoying. And I know, like, here's the thing. It's not the police officer, okay? It's not the cop, the examiner. It's me. Like, I failed, okay? I did the goof. It's not that the driving, the police officer was unreasonable or anything. No. The best way to learn to drive is just buy a car and drive. That's how I learned. I've been driving since I was 12. Well, if you want a criminal record, go for it. I would not advise that, okay? Like, the best way to drive is to, I don't know, pass the driving exam, I think. Jesus. I can't swim, but I can float. You know, like when you sit on your back and you're floating, I can do that shit. But anyway, right, so as I was saying about driving, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, like, even if I get the driving exam, I still don't have a car. Like, my best hopes is that my parents would give me a car. If not, maybe I can save money after I buy the house and, you know, buy like a second-hand vehicle, like something really cheap. But you know, it's the pride. Like, I took damage to my pride. I'm like Vegeta, and someone pushed the Goku button, if you get the reference. Meanwhile, I'm driving an 18-wheeler on the highway, doing 60 in one hand and typing this on the other hand. Man up, gypsy. Shut up, potato. What do you know? You're a potato. Just like, what? Why do you just... You know, let him park that shit. Go on, let him park that shit and then talk with me about it. In my town, of course. You need to let him park it in my town. Was the test car a foreign model? Maybe why you fell. No, I fell because I didn't know how to drive properly. I'm not blaming the car. I'm not blaming the cop. It's just, well, okay, I didn't set the chair properly. So when I didn't set the chair properly, I didn't, like, had the same feeling, I guess. Tactical droid, shut the fuck up. Don't make me use the Romanian way of getting a license, because then I'll get it before you. Jeez. Yeah, imagine being a potato. Parallel park the 18 wheels. Come on, parallel park that shit. Parallel park the 18 wheeler and then talk to me. Then you're going to give me like advice and super chats and shit. Super chats of shame. If you have a car shop nearby, look at the prices on the display for the test drive cars. They're usually marked down. Did I mean Romania? What test drive cars? We don't have test drive cars. Look, what we do have is I understand that the way learning to drive a car is very different in Romania than it is in the United States. Okay, so here is how it works in Romania. You go to a driving school, which asks a lot of money. I think it's around $500 or something. So at the driving school, you literally like sit down with other kids and you have a driving instructor that teaches you the rules of the road. So he teaches you what the signs mean. He teaches you like how to take a left turn. He teaches you, okay, so it's all theory. And then you go and you take your written exam, which is not really like a written exam. Like you go into this place with computers and you have like a multiple option type of thing. And it asks you like, which is the correct speed that you need to drive in a town? 50 kilometers, 70 kilometers an hour, 90 kilometers an hour. So you need to like select the correct questions, right? Then you actually go with the instructor, which has a car modified for him driving. And like on his side, he's got like the pedals and he can like brake or accelerate or press the clutch. And he sits next to you, constantly touches your wheel. It's a very annoying person that you feel like punching. And he tells you where to go. So you need to do like 15 hours with this guy. And then you realize that 15 hours is not enough, so you need to buy more. So after spending $500, each additional session with the guy costs around 20, I guess. So you need like at least 10 more. So you realize you paid $700 up till this point, and then the exam is another $100. So you pay $800 just to be able to take the exam. And if you fail, you have to take more sessions, right? So that's how you do it. That's how it works in Romania. In America, like I hear people go with their father or some shit, and the father teaches them how to drive, and I'm like, what the fuck? How does that work? But anyway, get your license in Egypt. Man, if I really want to, I can get my license in a rural area where there's like just one street and one turn, and like I can get it, but I still need to drive in my town, and there's a lot of traffic, so I don't want to risk it. 30 hours in Poland? Yeah, I mean, I guess like in Poland it's a lot better. Because if you think about it, the schools, like if I was a capitalist-oriented fellow and I have a driving school, like how can I get more money? Well, you take the student and you drive him like around the town and in places where he doesn't have to brake, where he doesn't have to press the clutch a lot. Because you want your car to be in pristine condition, right? And then you want him to fail the exam so that he gets more hours with the instructor, so that he spends more time and more money with the school. So it kind of makes sense, like if you want to make a profit. Just use an empty parking lot. What the fuck do I learn in an empty parking lot, dude? The problem isn't with the parking lot. The problem is with the intersections. The problem is with signaling. The problem is like actually driving on the road. Like I don't need an empty parking lot. I know how to park. Okay, the problem is that he made me parallel park in a curve, like in a turn. So there was like this curved street, and he made me parallel park in the curve, and I just like I parked it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like if you were there, you would have got the fuck out of the car. Like you would have been able to, because I parked it. But it wasn't like by the book. It wasn't properly like alien. It wasn't in a straight line. It wasn't parallel with the other car. So the cop didn't like it, and I was like, oh fuck. Okay, fine. You know, like you're right. Bribery means you pass the first time. Like I don't want to bribe the guy. Okay, like I genuinely want to know how to drive. Like that's my problem. I guess I could have, you know. Well, actually, I don't even know if I could, because it depends on the police officer. It depends on like the connections. You can't just go up to a police officer and bribe him, because then he's going to arrest you. Just think of the traffic signs as suggestions and drive it the way you think is right. Is it? Is that how you got past the exam? I don't know. How much cars do cost here? Well, it's the same cars like in Europe, right? So I guess like if you want the cheapest car, like I think like with $1,000 you can get like a second-hand most cheapest car ever. But like the problem is with that type of money, like with $1,000, you're going to get like a car that's going to break down immediately. Like let me show you the type of car you could get. I don't even know like if they make these anymore. I'm pretty sure you can get something like this for $1,000. Or maybe not, because now they might be vintage. So if they're vintage, you probably get taxed a lot more for the vintage price. They're probably gonna have like added expenses on top of it. They're probably going to say, oh well, they're polluting too much, so you need to pay for pollution. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, so you should watch Canada's Water Driver and feel good about yourself. I don't like, dude. It's the fact that I failed. I don't care what other people do. Might be but just bad luck with the examiner. I failed the first time, but had a bitch of an examiner. Second time, the guy was more interested in gossiping with the instructor. No, I mean, it's not the fault of the examiner. It's my fault. I just didn't drive properly. Because of the CUF, my lessons were spaced out to be once every 2 weeks. Yeah, pretty much. Like that's also my problem. Cool communist car, yeah. These cost around 5,000 euros. Really? So there we go. They're expensive. But like I guess you can find that 1,000 euro car if you really struggle. Like if you're really looking for it. But I'm pretty sure like the moment you put the key into the ignition, something will fall off the car and there's no more problem. But like it's not impossible to buy like a used car. Because, like, all that I needed is to be able to go to the supermarket. Because, like, this is the thing, right? The reason I didn't get a driving license up till now is because I didn't need it. Like, I don't get things that I don't need just to have them. So, now that I moved out and I'm more into a rural area where there's no shopping district here. There's, like, no place to do the groceries. And my fiance wants to go to work. It's like, okay, well, let's get a car in order to go to work. And in order to go do the groceries. So that's it. Like, I don't need something fancy. I'm not taking it into holiday trips. I'm not trying to pick up chicks. I'm not trying to impress the neighbors. I just want like a cheap used car that I can just drive once a week myself for the groceries. And she can drive once a day. So yeah, that's pretty much. License for medicine and law, but not for driving. Yeah, like I actually spoke with the instructor. And he told me, like, he had university professors and stuff, and they didn't get it. Like, he had this university professor that didn't get it for, like, 10 times he attempted. And that made me feel like, okay, well, I kind of get why. Because it's a different skill set that you need. In order to be a university professor, you have to understand how things work. But in order to drive a car, you need reflexes. And you also need the ability to pay attention to different things at once, to multitask. I know the theory, like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but it's kind of difficult when you have to do it on the spot within a fraction of a second. Which is kind of weird, because I do play video games, and I should have, like, the hand-eye coordination, but... I guess it is what it is. Plus, you're kind of nervous before the exam, and I couldn't even sleep the night before, because I don't have air conditioning here. And the temperature was, like, 35 degrees during the night, and I just couldn't sleep. It was way too hot. You must learn to drive or your woman will not respect you. Oh, no, don't worry about it. Like, she's a worse driver than I am, so there's where the respect is coming from. Get a horse in a Vardo. I wonder if you need a license to drive a horse, though, in Romania. Actually, I don't think you do, but I think you need a license if you want to take the horse. Sorry, no, you're not allowed to take the horse in the city. So you can drive the horse around the city, but you can't take it in. What do I find most difficult? I don't find anything difficult at this point. It's just like, there's a lot of small things. Like, I make small mistakes and they're not the same all the time. For example, like when taking a turn, you're not supposed to hit the middle of the road. Or, like signaling, you're supposed to signal 50 meters before doing something. Like sometimes I forget that. I mean, it's a 30-minute exam, you know, so in 30 minutes you can do a lot of small mistakes that add up. At driving school, I was doing lessons with this one girl. She just talked and talked and talked with the instructor. I swear I consider crashing into a tree. She was hot though. Well, maybe that's why the instructor was talking to her. You have to license your karuza. No, I don't think you have to license your horse. I think it's possible to drive a carriage without a license. Kind of surprising though, because like usually the government is going to want everything to have a license. Yeah, so Graham Thompson asked me to talk about the fact that the Swedish government has collapsed. I'll probably make a video about it. Like for the first time in Swedish history, the government got a vote of no confidence. And people are like, oh my god, you know, this is a major event. And here in Romania, it's like I think it's once every election that the government gets a vote of no confidence. So to me, it's not something bewildering. It's just like meh. All right, let's look at some other interesting things. By the way, here's a picture from my town. Here you go. Very, very beautiful. Very ushkushi. This is what I did yesterday after failing the driving exam. I really love what they did with the park. Like, my god. The only problem with the park though is that they had like this market where you could buy steaks. Like they had people cooking steaks and stuff, but they were incredibly expensive. Like I think it was like $20 a steak or something. It's like Jesus Christ, and they were also undercooked. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why you do this? Like, why? Noni. Because I genuinely wanted to eat something good, but I didn't expect it to be that expensive. This is art from independent content creators, by the way, representing the United States. Just look at it. Just want to see it. And this is art from actual video game developers in the West that are considered to be AAA, and this is art from Japanese people. So I'm going to make a video about this because I made this topic, but yeah, this is not a caricature. Like this is actually in the game. This is legitimately from the game. I made the topic called "Post Your Own," and it was like post how a Western character design looks like versus a Japanese game design. So I got I believe 114 retweets, 656 likes, and there's also a lot of people that responded. So I'm going to make a video going through these because it's really awesome. Look at him bragging again. Like, man, what can I say? You know, it's just like, it is what it is. I mean, hey, if you are in my place, you'd probably brag as well. Undercooked rare, yes. No, but like my biggest gripe was that I asked like for some pork, and the pork was undercooked, and I'm like, what the fuck? Are you trying to kill people? Like you're going to kill people with this shit. But you know, I don't like making a fuss in public, to be honest. And I was just like, well, I feel sorry for buying it. Like, can I get a refund? Apparently, it was like, sorry, no refunds. So what should we talk about? Should we go into the news a little bit? All right, let's go into some of the news. Apparently, a Bloomberg opinion has suggested that young people shouldn't make a habit of working on the weekends. If your labor is free, you devalue yourself. There's a better route to career success for millennials and Gen Zers. If the boss calls you to work on weekend, you go to work on weekend, okay? Like I'm telling you how it's like in the current economy where unemployment is high. You don't talk back to the boss. Now, what you can do, however, if you really hate your job, is you can keep your job while at the same time looking for another job. And when you find another job, you quit. Okay, you can do that. But I wouldn't advise taking the expert's opinion from Bloomberg as like, oh yes, you shouldn't make a habit on working in the weekends. Because if you don't make a habit in working in the weekends, the people who want to go ahead, they do work in the weekends. And by the way, I know it's horrible. I know it shouldn't be like this. Like every single hour you spend at the workplace should be paid, right? Because I guarantee to you, like if you hire a plumber, you're not going to be able to skim the plumber. And you're not going to be able to make the plumber stay more and work for free. Okay, only corporations have the ability to convince people to work for free. It's horrible, but it's happening. Right? It is the reality, and you can't get around it. I know how it is, because I had jobs. And I was also, like for example, when I was working at KFC, I had multiple jobs. When I was working at KFC, I had to work 8 hours, right? But if I was at closing time, when the restaurant closed, they would ask you to clean the utensils, to clean everything. That could take up to 2, sometimes 3 hours. So you'd work 10 or 11 hours a day. They wouldn't pay you extra, right? So if I, like what would be the difference? It's like I decide to just walk out, okay? Like they wouldn't physically be able to stop me if I decided to walk out, but they would fire me. So that's why I'm telling you, like if you don't like this thing that you're not supposed to work on the weekends, just find another job, and once you found another job, quit, right? 'Cause, like that's the only alternative. My God, like honestly, these experts, these very very smart and genius experts. I'm late to the conversation. Your brain optimizes repetitive actions. I can literally drive in my sleep right now. Practice. Yeah, it's exactly why I said I need more practice. Are you saying people should work for no pay? No, Billy. I'm saying reality is, you either work for no pay or you get fired. So instead of doing any of these, either you quit, find another job, or you work for no pay. Like it's your decision, all right? Just walking out the door, reality will tell you that you're going to get fired. In which case, it would have been better if you just quit. They have to pay you extra. Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do. You hate science, Tactical Droid? Learn the written rules that you can have so much fun with them. I don't know. I guess it depends in the country you are. It depends in the place you work at. Yeah, see, another guy that goes like, you can become a doctor, but you suck at driving. Do you know how many of my colleagues who are doctors suck at driving? Like, I know this plastic surgeon. He failed driving 9 times. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if I would want to be your patient. It's like, well, the fuck does one have to do with the other? It's like, I don't know, but like, I mean, I know people who do drive when drunk, and you can't drive when you're sober. It's like, what's going on here? How does weekend work equal not getting paid? Hours logged are hours paid, in my honest opinion. It depends on the country you are. Like, sometimes they will ask you to come in the weekend and you still get the same wage. Unless you have a bad salary contract in the US, they have to pay you at higher rate. Yeah, I guess like it depends. Like here in Europe, like this is how it works in the European Union. I think it's the same. Only Americans don't get it. You don't get paid by the hour. Like you get paid the fixed amount. They will tell you what your wage is. So they're like, you get paid $2,000 a month. So if you work overtime or if you come during the weekend, they don't pay you extra. All right, unless the hours get logged in. But if you want the hours to log in, you have to raise a stink about it. And if you raise a stink about it, they're going to say, well, you're fired. Now, what's interesting is the way they actually make you work on the weekend, right? Because the way they make you work on the weekend, they will say something like, you need to do this, okay? And they give you a responsibility that is unable to be done during the week. So then they're like, well, you're late. Why haven't you done this work quota that I gave you? And you're like, well, I mean, you know, it's like, well, other people did the work quota. Like you haven't done the work quota. You need to come during the weekends to do the work quota. If you don't come during the weekends to do it, then you're fired. So that's how they get you. Another way they get you is like they will have an open office. And if you're at the open office, they will be like, okay, close time is 3 p.m. And you see that at 3 p.m. no one gets up and leave, like everyone still sits down and works. You're not going to be the first person to get up and leave. And if you are the first person to get up and leave, the other employees, your colleagues, are going to hate you for it. They're going to start thinking that, like, why does he get to live when I get to stay? And then they're going to complain about it, and HR is going to call you, and they're going to say, yeah, you don't really fit in this family here. Like, we just don't think that you're a good fit. So if you don't make an effort, because like other people don't like you. You're not getting along with your colleagues. So yeah. I guess I shouldn't have lumped all of EU into one bag. I should have talked about Eastern Europe more. Yeah, I was talking about Eastern Europe, not the entire European Union. I'm pretty sure like other people don't have it as bad as we have it here. It depends where you work. It depends. Like, for example, if you work at a large corporation, it's obviously going to be different than working at a small company. Get up and leave anyway, efficient worker, yeah. Find a go-kart track. There is no go-kart track in my town. Did you see Joe Rogan brought up Atheism Plus last week? Brought up Rebecca Watson and PZ Byers, and the elevator sort of said patient 0 for the woke infection. I haven't seen it, but I guess it was hilarious. I pretty much think like left-leaning people freaked out. Tefik, you gave me a super chat. If you did, I don't see it. Like, I'm scrolling all the way up and I can't see what you said. Anyway. It wasn't an anime, it was a commercial. When I refreshed the screen, I got hit with the commercial. So anyway, let's look at some other interesting news. Oh, this one is interesting. So, last night, the far-right extremist group vandalized a statue of George Floyd in Brooklyn, a racist, loathsome, despicable act. The city cleanup corps is repairing the statue right now, and a hate crime investigation is underway. We bring these cowards to justice. This is Mayor Bill de Blasio, right, from New York. So, I am glad, and it brings a tear to my eye that finally Mayor Bill de Blasio has seen common sense. You know, after so many statues were vandalized, after so many monuments were desecrated last year, like, he finally gets it. It took, you know, unfortunately, I gotta say, it took for George Floyd to pass away, for Mayor Bill de Blasio to finally get his marbles together and understand why it's law and order that is important, and to take the law seriously. But it finally happened. Like, it finally happened. You know, like, I wish it would have happened without tragedies occurring. But, you know, I mean, there were statues with Jesus being torn down, and he didn't say anything about it. But I'm definitely sure that now he finally gets it. Like, he finally understood why it's a bad thing. You know, I'm not going to judge. I'm not the judge here. You know, I mean, whatever works. You know, hey, whatever works. How does he know it was a far-right group? Well, he's a mayor. He's a smart person. I mean, politicians are smart. You know, they know things. It's their job to know things. So I'm pretty sure, like, his advisors told him. See, this is why I dislike alternative websites. Because I get Banks Naughty Bits going, if Rumble is good enough for Trump, why aren't you there? I'm already on Rumble. Like, this is why I don't like these people that are like, why aren't you there? I'm already there. I already uploaded This Week is Stupid on Rumble. Jesus. With all the great empire... anyway, right. Let's see if I can show you something that would take my mind off of driving. So this is an interesting take, right? Like, this reminds me so much of Romania. Because the politicians here used to champion the same thing. Equitable treatment means we all end up in the same place, says Vice President Kamala Harris. Look at her face. Like, this is like her uttering the words. She's in the middle of uttering the sentence. I will tell you something, okay? Like, the world does not have enough resources for all of us to end up like Kamala Harris. It just doesn't. Like, in every society, regardless of the political system, the tribal chieftain has a bigger tent than everyone else. The tribal chieftain commands more respect than everyone else. If you go into a theocratic society, like the clergy have nicer churches than other people have houses. Yeah. So there aren't enough resources for all of us to end up like Kamala Harris. But there are enough resources for all of us to end up homeless. So making a society impoverished is doable, right? Everyone can end up in the same place, poor, impoverished. Now, you might say, well, hold on, a society where everyone is poor, and like only, let's say, 5% of the people, the ruling class, they get to be wealthy. It's still a more equitable society than a capitalist society where you have like different classes and people can climb up the ladder and go down the ladder, right? That is an unequitable society because there's more inequality in a capitalist society than there is in a society where everyone is poor, but like 10% of the people have all the wealth. Like a medieval society. A medieval society is more equitable than modern America. Because in a medieval society, the overwhelming amount of people are peasants. So they are in the same place, right? You do have like some rich people, but they are the exception. Like the very, very few. In America, not everyone is in the same place. Like you have the lower class, you have the middle class, you have the upper middle class, you have like the ruling elites. And even then, like with the ruling elites, you can have like, like CEOs and people that have stocks in companies. And you can have like politicians and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, like, I mean, the problem is it sounds nice on paper, but it doesn't really look good when you put it into action. When you apply the theory, basically. Imagine believing in equity. Well, it's not really a belief system. It's just like a good PR campaign in order to get people on your side. Oh yeah, so this was like I actually had to check to see if this is a meme or if it's true. Like this was just like the most bewildering news that I have seen all week. Make-A-Wish Foundation to grant wishes only to terminal ill children who are fully vaccinated. So in other words, if you're not fully vaccinated, Make-A-Wish doesn't give a fuck about dying Jimmy. Now, it's the most bizarre thing. Like, first of all, if you look at this as a way to convince people to get vaccinated, right? Like, let's have like this PR campaign and this is going to get more people to get vaccinated. If you look at it this way, like, is there a person that wouldn't have gotten the vaccine, but after they heard that Make-A-Wish Foundation insists, like, they will go like, you know what, fuck it, I'll get the vaccine because Make-A-Wish demands it. I don't think it works that way, all right? Now, you can look at another way. You can say, okay, well, most of the wishes that terminally ill children have is to go someplace, right? Like, either to go and meet a famous person, to go and see something like Disneyland. And if they're not vaccinated, then they're going to fly, and as they're flying, they might infect other people. Why not vaccinate the other people then, you fucking moron? Like, why are the other people not vaccinated? Right? Because, like, if you're vaccinated, you don't get... Why are the other people... And then the other question is, like, what do you do with, like, most of these kids, from what I understand, like... Most of these children that are terminally ill are probably suffering from some form of leukemia, some sort of cancer, right? Usually these people are on chemotherapy. And it's against doctors' prescription to vaccinate them because their immune system is KO'd. Their immune system is already busy fighting the cancer. What the fuck are you doing? It's so bizarre. Like, honestly. And not to mention, like, if they're going to get the Make-A-Wish Foundation interested, then they're probably not going to survive, right? Like, they're already terminally ill. It's in the word terminal. Like, they're dying anyway. Whether they died from their illness or they contract something else, it's like, what? I don't know. I'm just a little bit bewildered. It's like, Make-A-Wish Foundation. I think you need to review that just a little bit. You didn't think this through properly. You didn't think about the children properly, you know? Yeah, it is, honestly, it feels to me as a virtue signal, but it's like the weirdest virtue signal in the fucking world. It's like, do you have to virtue signal with terminally ill children? No, because I get the argument. Like, the argument would be, like, what if one of these kids is a biological hazard and you put them on a plane and it infects everyone? It's like, okay, can't you then just screen the child to see if he's sick or not? Like, just give him a PCR test and you can see if he's sick or not? Can't you, like, just make sure that everyone else on the plane is vaccinated? Like, there are just so many ways you can get around this without having like this ridiculous thing happening. That Make-A-Wish decision is straight social justice warrior call from deep inside. Honestly, I can't see it any other way. Like, I generally, like, you know, sometimes I can understand the logic behind certain things, but when it comes to this, there is no logic. It's just bizarre. Oh, dear me. Yeah, you can just run the tests. You can test everyone. Whatever. You know, like you can make the parents just sign a consent form. It's like, hey, you know, we don't take responsibility for blah blah blah. Anyway, let me see some of the other news that I didn't cover today. So Joe Biden actually came up and he said a very interesting and dumb take. That like it's almost spiteful in a way. Like, that's how the right-wing media took it. He said that the Second Amendment is not for overthrowing a oppressive government, which is literally what's in the Constitution. I mean, that is literally written in the Constitution, unless I don't understand it. And he's like, no. If you want to take over the government, you need F-15s and you need nukes. And I'm like, okay, fine. So you need airplanes and nukes to take over the government. But, I mean, you know, he's got a point. Like, he's got a point. But isn't he also the party which says that the government was almost overthrown by unarmed mob on July the 6th? How the... Like look, seriously, you know, it's just like a little bit of glitch in the Matrix. Like, pick one, motherfucker. Like, just pick one. Like, I'm with you. Like, I don't think you can overthrow the U.S. government with, you know, small arms fire. It's like, okay, fine. Absolutely. But then how the fuck can you say that, oh, there was an insurrection? It's like, okay, so you think that they were close to winning? I mean, what? At least in Turkey, I get it. Like, in Turkey, when they did the coup, like, the military was there, and they had, like, soldiers and tanks, and Erdogan was in a bunker. You know, like, I get that, but... Do you think vaccination rates would go up if they mixed it with street drugs? I don't know how you would make vaccination rates go up, to be honest. I mean, at this point, it's pretty much like this, right? Like, the only way you can get it to go up is if you legitimately force people. Some people will want to get it, some people will not. And they already made up their mind. Like, I don't think you can get people to change their mind at this point, you know? So, I guess maybe, like, if people will have, like, a family member that gets sick and passes away and that scares them, like, they might change their mind. But other than that, I don't think you can, and... unless, like, the government becomes tyrannical and forces people or says, hey, you can't go to work unless you take the job or whatever. Yeah, I also think that the Turkish coup was a theater because... I don't know if it was a theater. Like, either the guys in charge of the coup were incredibly incompetent and the most moronic people on earth, or... It was theater, because Erdogan managed to get literally whatever he wanted after the attempt. Like, he managed to have a list of, you know, judges and teachers and literally anyone that was against him, and he managed to arrest him. He cut the phone lines to prevent the spread of misinformation. Yeah. He wouldn't have done many of those things without the crisis. Here they give lottery tickets to vaccinated people. I don't know if, like... I even heard, like, there were places where they gave people free donuts and ice cream and French fries and shit, and I was like, oh my fucking god, like, are you kidding me? It's like, so you're telling me, like, there was a person that wouldn't have got it, but, like, after French fries were offered, he was like, you know what, might as well. Yeah, I agree with Abdi Mohammed, and I agree with Tefik about the Turkish coup. But, you know, like, there always is the possibility that, like, some generals in the military just thought that they're tough shit, that they weren't. Like, maybe they thought they had more people backing them. Maybe they thought that the population will support them. I don't know what happened, but whatever the case may be, Erdogan managed to get a big win from that. In my area, Ontario, Canada, they're giving hockey and baseball tickets to people who will vaccinate today, literally trying to bribe people to get the vaccine. This reminds me when Romania had to change its constitution in order to get to the European Union. Because if I'm not mistaken, we had like a couple of things in the Romanian constitution that weren't okay with the EU Council. One of them was that we criminalized homosexuality by the time. I mean, it wasn't illegal. So here's the story with Romania and homosexuality. Like, once the Soviets came and Romania became a socialist state, homosexuality was outlawed. Like, it was a crime to be a homosexual. And what does this mean? Well, it means that if you are caught, like let's say your wife catches you having sex with a man, or if some neighbor managed to find out that you were having gay relationships, you would be sent to prison. Like, it was a crime. It wasn't it's very difficult for people to understand in this day and age. But if you were caught, you would be sent to prison, pretty much like committing robbery or theft. And not to mention your social stigma, in the communist morality was completely destroyed. So the socialists outlawed homosexuality. Now, after the communist regime fell, homosexuality was still outlawed in Romania for quite a while, until the European Union told us that no, you need to change it. And what the Romanian legislator did is that he legalized homosexuality. Like, all of a sudden it wasn't a crime anymore, but he moved it under the crime of rape. So he changed the crime of rape to be forced intercourse involving the genital organ between two people, or an adult and an underage person, or two members of the same sex. So, in other words, even if this is not Ceausescu we're talking about, I think this is either Iliescu or Constantinescu, one of the two presidents. But basically, what it meant is that if you were having like even willing sex, so even if the act was willing between an adult and a child, or two adults of the same sex, it was still rape, right? So if, for example, a neighbor would catch you that you're having sex with a man, then he could report you to the cops and you could get arrested for rape. So this lasted for quite a while. I think it lasted until the Romanian changed its constitution. Now, why am I talking about this? In order for Romania to change the constitution, you need an overwhelming support from the parliament. Like, I think it needs a overwhelming majority from the parliament to vote on it, and then the president, I think, signs up on it. But eventually, it needs to go to the people. So the people themselves go and vote on the new constitution. If they're given the draft, they're allowed to read it, and then they say if they consent or if they're against the changing of the constitution. And what happened here was that normally this is a process that lasts a day. And if you don't have, I believe, like half plus 1% of the entire Romanian population voting on it, then it's considered that it didn't meet the quorum, it didn't have like sufficient people voting on it, and it fails. But because people weren't interested at the time, like they didn't give a shit if they joined the EU or not, like only the politicians cared, the voting was extended for 3 days. And if you went to vote, you would get like all sorts of perks. There were shops that would let you have free donuts. There were like balloons that you could take to your kid if you went to vote. You could get into amusement parks and like all sorts of bullshit, like just for voting, which normally would be considered bribery, but in this case, Le Plarom was actually something to be encouraged. Yeah, referendums are nice. Too bad they're not happening anymore. Ever since the Brexit referendum, the EU is treating other referendums like the plague. No, I think like now the most bizarre thing that I've seen is like the Romanian government paying musicians and actors to promote the vaccination campaign. And I'm thinking like, aren't the musicians and actors such empathetic people anyway? Like, don't they brag themselves on their unlimited empathy? Why don't they do it for free? Why do they need money in order to tell you on television that you should go and get vaccinated, right? Like, why do they need money from the government? So yeah, like they paid influencers, bloggers, like the Romanian equivalent of rappers. it's like really bizarre. It's like, man, like you could just take that money and just give it to the people for taking the vaccine. You'd probably have a much bigger impact. You know, like if you, instead of giving $1 million to these people, just separate $1 million by a million, just give $1 to 1 million people that go vaccinate themselves. Have you heard what happened in the Philippines regarding the vaccine? Their president said that either you take the jab or go to prison. I haven't heard about that, but I don't think there's enough room to the prison to... Because here's the thing, in every nation, you're going to have people that resist and just don't want to. Like, even if it's for their own good. Like, look, perfect example, okay? Perfect example. You had refugees in Europe, and they were sitting out in the sun, the scorching heat, you know, waiting to be processed. And the government gave them water bottles. Now, some people drank the water bottle. Other people kicked them around. Other people threw them. Like, you're not going to get compliance out of 100% of the people unless you're in the military, right? So, like, what are you going to do? It's like, okay, are you going to lock people up? How many? Like, even the prison system has a limit. You can't overwhelm the prison system. So it's just like bizarre. It's just like saying things that are just authoritarian and just yeah, whatever. YouTube got some money to push the propaganda. Look at you, Philip. Oh, I don't know. I haven't watched other YouTubers. I don't know if that's the case. But yeah, that is fascist as fuck. But imagine like how salty you must be, like if you get, all right, so you get like free potato chips if you get vaccinated, right? What if you already got vaccinated before the free potato chips? So you already took it, but now you can't get the free potato chips because you already got it. It's like, god damn it! If only I'd have waited a little bit. Anyway, right, so thank you guys for watching. I appreciate that you were here. I hope this was entertaining, and I'll see you guys on my next stream. Hopefully you like This Week is Stupid. Now I'm going to work on the video on my other channel, Lack of Entertainment. And thank you for the super chats, especially because I need money to buy more driving lessons. They're actually expensive, $20 a driving lesson. I already got Gus paying for one of them. So I think I need around 3 in order to be able to take the exam again. So 3 for me, 3 for my fiance, that's 6. But I'll probably take around 10 because 5 for me, 5 for her, just to learn how to drive better. So yeah, thank you a lot for the super chats. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Where's the off button? Jesus, where did the off button go? I can't find the off button. Holy shit. Is this going to be on forever now? Do I need to restart my computer? There's the off button missing. Oh no. Oh no, I can't close this. Hold on, I know what to do. I'm going to shut it down. Shut down the computer. No,